The game is on. Everyone in the room is leaning forward, holding their breath, screaming at the television like the players can actually hear them. And then there's that one person, maybe it's you, sitting slightly apart, snack in hand, genuinely wondering why everyone is this emotionally invested in strangers running after a ball. Not judging, just not feeling it at all. And here's the thing, people look at you like you're asterisk the strange one. Like not caring about sports is some kind of personality defect that needs to be explained or fixed. But what if the psychology actually runs in the opposite direction? What if not obsessing over sports reveals something genuinely interesting about how your mind is wired? Let's get into it. The independent identity builder. Picture this. Everyone at the office is wearing the team jersey on game day. The group chat is exploding with scores and highlights. And one person reads every message, smiles politely, and goes back to whatever they were actually thinking about. Not because they're antisocial, they're perfectly warm and engaged in other conversations. Sports just never became part of how they define themselves. Psychologists have found that sports fandom is deeply tied to social identity theory, the human need to belong to a group and derive self-worth from that group's wins and losses. When your team wins, your brain registers it almost like a personal victory. For people who don't connect with sports, this mechanism simply attaches elsewhere, to creative communities, professional identity, family, or other passion groups. They're not missing the need to belong. They just belong somewhere else. The internal reward seeker. Then there's this type. They're not disinterested in competition. They actually love it. But they need to be in asterisk it, not watching it. Put them on a court, a field, a hiking trail, a chessboard. Suddenly they're completely alive. Watching other people compete from a sofa, though, it just doesn't produce the same chemical reaction. This comes down to how the brain's dopamine system is calibrated. For some people, the reward pathway activates most strongly through direct participation and personal challenge rather than vicarious experience. Watching a game feels passive to them in a way that's almost uncomfortable. They're not wired for spectatorship. They're wired for doing. Asterisk maybe that's you. The one who gets restless watching and just wants to play. The complexity seeker. Another profile. And this one is quietly fascinating. They don't dislike sports exactly. They find them aesthetically simple. The rules are finite, the outcomes are binary, win or lose, and once you understand the mechanics, there's not much new territory to explore. Their mind craves open-ended problems. Narratives with no clear resolution. Questions that don't have scoreboards. Research into need for cognition. The drive to engage in effortful mental activity suggests that people who score high on this trait often gravitate toward pursuits with greater ambiguity and depth. Not because sports aren't complex at a strategic level, but because the emotional template of fandom, loyalty, rivalry, tribal pride, doesn't satisfy the itch. They want ideas, not outcomes, the socially selective one. But here's the twist. Some people who don't follow sports actually have nothing against the games themselves. What they're opting out of is the culture asterisk around it, the mandatory enthusiasm, the assumption that the social penalty for not knowing last night's score. They've simply decided not to perform interest they don't genuinely feel. Psychologists call this authenticity orientation, a strong internal resistance to performing emotions or preferences for social acceptance. These people aren't contrarian, they're just unusually committed to only engaging with things that actually move them. In a world that rewards performed enthusiasm constantly, that's a quiet but significant act of self-respect. So which one resonates? The person who belongs somewhere else entirely. The one who needs to be in the game rather than watching it. The complexity seeker who finds binary outcomes unsatisfying. Or the one who simply refuses to pretend. Not caring about sports isn't a gap in your personality. It's a window into how your brain seeks connection, stimulation, and meaning, just through a different door than most. Drop a comment. Are you the non-sports person, or do you know one? And what do you think they're actually obsessed with instead?